is heavy machinery, is it? And putting the pillow to my ear is heavy machinery operation. I shouldn't have adjusted myself according to any kinds of prescription medication. But then again, I didn't, and I didn't have to. Just one glass of water, and that'll do it, even though that the alarm clock is going to be sparkling like the 4th of July before I even know it. The floor, of course, related to the ceiling that I'm trying to get to, isn't necessarily glass, but maybe it is, in that it's very dark, and maybe it's nighttime. That goes to how I'm thinking, goes to follow and think. It's not a game, though. It's not like this is Parcheesi or Sauri or Hungry Hippos or anything like that. If it were, we could have some sort of aqueous bovine entertainment. We could swim, be classified and called creatures of the animal kingdom. It's not the same. I write myself a love letter every morning and tuck it into the front pocket, and then I find it recovered, all tangled and gluey. I don't like that thing anymore. I'm suspicious. I might have to call the bomb squad, get the sniffer dogs in here, and then I'd have to throw the sniffer dogs to the wolves. I mean, it doesn't really collide with any sense of meaning that I've already tried to interpret from what I've said to myself, which is to you, which is to myself. Well, it's the vice that we're in. It's the advice that I've been given, is to find yourself your own personal giant. And I'm not speaking, of course, about the franchise, be it football or baseball, but rather a real, honest-to-goodness hero, the giant. May he be friendly or may he be green. Nevertheless, he'll put his large hand to your mouth and prevent you from sticking that donut in it. Say, listen, you've got to be your best advocate. You've got to stand up for your health, and you've got to consider your future. So don't put poison inside of that. That could be a temple. That's what they say. Could be a temple. Well, maybe it be a Shirley temple, but that would be so confusing after all these 30 years of life on Earth. My God. Anyway, to get back to what I was saying, the first thing that you have to consider, of course, is being on the edge. Being directly on the edge. Maybe it's a knife, but that seems a little bit cliche. I've always thought of it as a loaf of bread myself because of the leavening that goes on, the leavening agents that take part. Of course, the leveling agent is mediocrity. And maybe I shouldn't be so despondent when I think about my condition or I think about the life that I'm leading. Because really, it's not so bad. It's just nice and level. It's like the horizon. When you see it come up, it just means that you're going to see all the scrub and bushes that you haven't cleared away. And then if you have found yourself according to some sort of logical path, you know that you've just circled back around. And that means that you've been crab walking. You've been making circles like a whole little cluster of baby cows up on the hill being lorded by coyotes or coyotes, whichever you want to call them. It's not a big deal, but the crab walking is a big deal. That's a problem. You know, because you have to take those legs out on loan. That's 6 extra right there. And Sally Mae is going to be very upset when you can't come through. I mean, that's a life commitment. That's a life commitment. To think about it is to want to cloister yourself within the giant's glove. You know, if you can find that thing, I could tuck myself right away in the thumb hole. I just curl up and go to sleep. Not to say that sleep is so easy. Of course, that's me making myself into a thumb again. I mean, how selfish is that, right? It's the one finger with only one knuckle, or maybe it's 2 knuckles, but maybe it's just an undisclosed number of knuckles at this point in time. You know, it's not really that crucial or that essential to the kind of detail that we're threading out here. It's not like we're weaving any sort of tapestry either. This might be Haynes her way, or Fruit of the Loom. I don't really know. At any rate, it's sort of unraveled and it's not very elastic. I could do with a cup of coffee, I suppose, but I'm only saying that because coffee seems to be such a nice laxative and I really have to go to the bathroom. Also, I have to exchange money for goods. That's the main principle behind this whole endeavor, I suppose. I mean, well, could I call this an endeavor, or what is this exactly that I'm asking myself to participate in? It's not like I'm doing this for my own amusement. It's not like I'm really settled and I've determined how I'm going to be bringing home the bacon, so to speak. But then I ask myself, you know, what's the point of this bacon thing? It's just sizzling in the pan. It's just making grease. There's not really any point. The question is, where are you going to chew it? How are you going to chew it? You're going to find a tooth that big? How are you going to chew all the words? It's not the one. It's not the bright piece of wood that comes out and shatters your illusions by sticking into your foot by accident. My God, what a catastrophe. But then, of course, you get to skip work for a while, and that's not so bad. Well, maybe it is, especially in terms of trying to keep above water or keep afloat. Afloat, that is to say, is something that I could participate in a kind of private parade, although not like the Halloween situation, where I would be throwing flowers and garlands to everybody and be addressing everyone as if I were His own Majesty. I mean, His Majesty, maybe the giant, maybe the hero. You don't know. Maybe it's just a ladder, maybe it's a bridge. Maybe it's some sort of device that I've concocted for myself so that I can actually communicate. Even though, you know, when it comes down to it, why do people get so offended? I blow in their faces a little bit because I see that there's dust. What's the big deal? It's not like I'm looking at them and pretending that they're on television, although sometimes I do look in their eyes and I do see TV, although maybe that's my fault. That's probably my fault, actually, because I'm concocting some sort of show, be it the, you know, Muppets or whatever that happen to be floating behind their irises. I'm not going to put a finger on it, really. I'm not going to even try to put my toe in the water at this point because I've been warned. I've been warned that it's cold, and I've been warned that there are creatures that I'm not ready to encounter down there. It's all part of the same thing. It's all part of the same kind of leather. I mean, leather being the skin, being the same sort of form that just envelops me and I find myself beloved again. Beloved by the giant. Well, what do you expect? Not, of course, by the franchise. Yeah, well, we've already been there. It's already been done. It's already been parsed out, picked over, but really there must be a lot of meat left on those bones, even though it might be just the skeleton of a bone. You can't really tell. Even if it was, you might be able to chew on something. Find some ringworm or some rot. Find something, root around, find some mushrooms. You don't know.